This is something I want to know for so long. Will a high volume oil pump actually make a difference? I don't think a standard one does. Now, what it is, I've got this Cherokee here. Pretty nice, runs good, quiet, don't run hot. You can see it's, I don't know, it's about 80 degrees outside. And she's running cool. Oil pressure's hovering around 70. When you crank it up, it's good, around 40. So I'm gonna go through, like I said, my videos will be longer, but when you leave here, it's gonna be like the facts. So what I'm gonna do, pull it in, and put a manual gauge on it. Then we know for sure what the pressure is. Then I'm gonna change oil, and then I'm gonna drive it and see what it is. So I'm gonna get it pulled in the shop here, and yeah. I meant to add, when you're driving down the road, $2 grand, may take a second. It does come up pretty good. So I don't think it's a rod bearing issue. This is just something I want to learn for myself too. You can see I got a milling, however you say it, high volume pump, new strainer, oil pan, and this Jeep here, this is what's going to be, this is why I'm doing it in sequence, is I'm pulling those axles out, and I got high pinions, that got gears, brakes, doing WJ knuckles, crossover steering. So that's another build, but while everything's pulled out, that's what I was going to do it. So I'm going to get some manual gauge on there and see what it actually is. I forgot how hot it gets under the hood. It's wild. I'm going to have to wear gloves to get down there, but here's what I got. Got a T, and I'm going to screw it in where the oil pressure sensor would go, and then I've got a regular gauge, and I'm going to screw it into one port and then the existing sensor into another port there. That way we know for a fact that when it's showing low on that gauge, we know the actual pressure. Write all this down, and then I'm going to change oil. A couple things I can't forget. One, I noticed it had a small Mighty oil filter, which is what a lot of like shops use, you know, like bulk or whatever. And well, I'll show you this in a second. But actually I had two filters cut apart for another video, and I'll show you what they're doing. See, this is a knockoff Wix. Throw it down there. This is kind of complicated, but oil comes around and then goes through the filter and comes back through the center hole. Their idea of a valve, pressure relief valve, is I guess this rubber folds over. So if it can't get through the filter, it goes through those little holes and then knocks that rubber over. Fram, I like it better, but Fram, man, that's a cheap filter. Comes in on the outside here. That's its idea of a check valve, can't drain back past. And like I said, if it can't go through the filter, they've got a thing that sits on top with no gasket, and it's just a spring that lets oil bypass. So those are set at different pressures. I don't see the spring being set at like 15. I don't know that for a fact. And the second thing, the Chrysler 3-wire sensors, I have seen those. That's what that one's doing right there. It'll have good oil pressure, and when it drops below like 40, it just falls to nothing. I think that's what that one's doing, but I don't think this Jeep here is doing that. So got everything fire crank, blah, blah, blah. Get the crank sensor to work. If y'all know me and this crank sensor on this Jeep, I'm gonna make a full video on this too, because a lot of people didn't believe me. The crank sensor is electromagnet, and as long as the air is moving, it's cool. When it stops, all that heat, I said the S word, and GoPro thought that I meant to quit recording, and it, so where was I at? Oh, water. When you sit still, all that heat dissipates and gets the crank sensor hot, and it can't work. So this is a little trick. Just take water and pour off over in there. I'll have it run in just a second. If y'all know me and this crank sensor, it's kind of funny, but I was going to change it when I had all the axles out, so I didn't have to lift it. But about 6 gallons of water later, there we go. So let's see. There it goes. I figured it cooled down. Yeah, it cooled down just a fuzz. Hovering right at 20. So I'm curious now what our gauge that don't like to is going to say. Okay, spot on the money. I was saying about 17. Yeah, y'all can see that's about 16, 17. So what I'm gonna do now is change the oil and see where we're at after it heats up the oil and everything. All right, just so I got proof that I changed the oil, I want to have it on camera. And I'm gonna try to dodge this oil because it's gonna be hot. It's not bad. Yeah, it's hot. That's probably about 2,000 mile oil. So get some fresh oil, put back in there. Yeah, let me crawl out of here. So this is gonna be my oil of choice. Not saying it's my favorite oil for a Cherokee, but it's got zinc. I'm not getting into all that on this video, but I'm gonna do, hold on. Brother's interrupting me. So, like I said, this ain't like my favorite oil ever, but I got enough. I'm gonna do one oil change in it, 6 quarts, and I'm literally gonna drain it out and do the oil pump and put brand new oil back in it again. And I'll probably use that used oil. It'd be fine in something else. So got that oil draining, and we'll get some fresh oil. And I forgot to show you, crap. I run these on all my Jeeps. They're called Protect, made by Wix. Yeah, by Wix. And I have good luck out of them, so that shouldn't be the problem. Got the oil filter draining. I actually left the oil draining for like 20 hours. I got to dreaming, what if I change oil and it fixes the problem? Hopefully not. So I'm gonna get that oil filter off, and since I've just got a oil filter cutter for my race car, I'm gonna cut it just to prove there's no metal in there and get some fresh oil in it. So I got the Protect filter on. For some reason it's like you can't get an oil filter wrench back there, so that may be why they was running that Mighty filter. Like I said, I'm gonna cut it open. I was just gonna get some of this oil pouring in there, just proof that I'm running this oil. I wish they made a 1040, but they don't, and I don't want the 1030 because I'm already struggling with low oil pressure. So I decided I'm gonna let that oil filter sit there and hang out for a little while, and I'm gonna go make the same exact block and let it sit and idle the same exact way I did before. And I'm thinking to fire it up. That's what I said. When it was cold, it had, I don't remember, 40, 50 PSI, so cold wasn't an issue. Gotta fix that crank sensor. Take a second to build up pressure. Eventually. So yeah, it's about exactly where it was before with brand new oil and filter. I'll check the manual gauge out here just to make sure we ain't lying. That one in there is lying a little bit. This one shows 50 something. Tuck it away, hope it don't leak. Get the hood shut and go kick a block. Like I said, it holds good going down the road. It's just when you get everything hot or warm, whatever. See, that's 40 going down the road. So we'll get it around the block, and then I'll let it sit and idle for a minute, and we'll see where it's at. Check out the headliner. So that actually helped, but today, right now it's about 70. It's in the morning, but I think yesterday is around 85, closer to 90. So you can see that one is there, which is better, but I still think by the time it gets a lot warmer outside that it'll be closer to where we started. See, this one tells a little bit better. It shows on the downside of 30. So I'm pretty sure when it gets about right temperature outside that it's gonna be probably, I don't know, 25, which it's okay, but the whole video is just to see if we can cure the low oil pressure. So I'm gonna let it idle for a little bit longer and see where we go. But I'm gonna go cut this oil filter open. If you hadn't ever saw one, kind of same principle as like a brake line cutter. You just spin it in there and keep tightening this thing down. I think you can actually mount it on a wall. It's got screw holes, but I'm gonna tighten it down there and get this one cut open. Oh, that one did good. So let's dissect this thing here. It's weird. It's got a bypass filter, or a bypass valve, but I don't see it. So, nothing but just, I don't know. There's no metal, but this filter feels pretty cheap and old. I don't know, I don't do this very often. Yeah. So nothing to see here, just a black filter. Nothing bad. All right, so I've let it sit here and idle for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And it's definitely improved. We're at like a 24, and that's better, but I know it should be around 40. And that's what I was gonna say. I guarantee 100% if I drive this thing on the highway to town and back, it'll be probably 20, maybe 18. And somebody will argue with me. I don't care, I've been doing this 20 years. I've seen enough of them. So this really won't affect the video, but up until I get all these axles out and get all those axles built, that's when I'm gonna do the oil pump. So y'all won't see this break, but it's gonna be a weird one. Add this to the oil pump video. So I said I wasn't gonna do this, but for the other video's sake, I'm gonna drive this Jeep to town, and we'll see what the oil pressure is when I get to town. Still ain't fixed the crank sensor. Jumpy crank sensor. So let's see what it is cold. 50 on the dot. Maybe dropping just a foot. We'll check it when we get to the town. Of course, today I picked to drive the Jeep to town. It's raining, so motor probably won't be as warm as usual, but it is what it is. So like I said, it's raining, so it's running cooler. A little bit more than last time, so let's see what the actual gauge says. Crank sensor's trying to give out on me. Oh yeah, I don't think the oil probably changed a thing. It's wanting to be around 20 if it's idle right. So if it was as hot as it was the other day, I think we'd be right back on the money. All right, if you can see, I got all the suspension removed. It's nothing. I got everything pressure washed. So now I'm going to drain the oil, and I'm not going to change the filter because that's, no, you know what? I'm going to change the filter because somebody will have something to say, and I don't want that. But I did notice this one's got the long, or not long arm. I mean, it does, but it don't matter. This is bracket, so gotta get that out of the way. But it's pretty much quitting time. I got my race card oil there. I'm gonna sit it here and pull the drain plug and let it drip overnight, and we'll get back on this tomorrow. Hopefully in like 18 hours, whatever it is, I'll be done dripping oil. Yeah, still it's got a little shade to it, but good oil. I'll use it in something around here for sure. Update, 8 o'clock the next day. We still got a drip and a drip. Update, it's 5 o'clock. Still dripping. All right, 48 hours later, I had to go buy a GPS this evening. Yes, we're done dripping. So, like I said, I'm gonna get the bracket out of the way, let it hang, get this oil pan off there. I hope I didn't say this before because it's been 2 days later, but I'm curious what the motor looks like inside because runs good, runs quiet. I don't think it's ever been run hot. Runs cool, so hope it's clean. All right, last bolt, and I want everybody here for proof that this is not a made up stuff. I don't like when that's said, so here we go. One bolt should pop. Oh. It's pretty clean. I'll move the camera around here in a second. Hold on. All right, check it out. That is pretty clean, pretty clean. No deposits, whatever we gonna call them. I mean, even in here, that's pretty clean. My finger actually just got it dirty. Nothing stopping that up. So, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I may take the oil pump apart. I think there's specs in the book. So, all right, I was in the process of cleaning it. Well, I'm actually doing a rear main seal. No, it's not part of the video, but I'm doing it while I'm here. Definitely suggested. But the oil filter, I told you I was gonna change it. There it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the new one on because it's leaking on my head. So I just wanted y'all to see new oil filter. This is so crazy. Check this out. This is the back main bearing, and in probably in my opinion, probably would be the most wore. It's the last main bearing to get oil pressure, and I would think being on the end, like catching a crankshaft and all that, would have probably the most wear. I don't know, I'm making that crap up, but it has absolutely no wear on it at all. A little, I guess, stain from oil, but that's the main bearing. So I'm gonna get that on there before I forget it and torque it and all that crap. And I'm gonna pop a rod bearing off. I'll probably pull number 6 off for same reason. And that's what I may explain this. You may have seen me explain it before, but this is where oil pressure goes in, goes up to the oil filter, comes back in some passageways. It's hard to explain, but then it comes in the center and spreads its way out. So like the front or the back is technically the last to get oil. So I would assume they would be in the worst shape. Don't know that, can't prove it, but yeah, let me take it apart. All right, Jeeps never cease to amaze me. This is crankshaft, looks as good as you could ask for. And I was gonna make a joke and go get new rod bearings and lay them here, but these are just about as good as you could ask for, looking like new. Bottom one, you know, it's still got like haze on it. Don't even look like it's had any wear on it. Top one, I mean, you can see physical wear, and GoPro won't let me show you where it says STD right there, which means it's a standard bearing, which means it's the bearing that the Jeep come with. And I know somebody by now is wondering why I won't mention miles. Well, that's a prime example right there. I've seen them with 90,000, 80,000 with problems. I've seen them with 500,000 with like absolutely no problems at all. And like my pink Jeep, if you ever seen it, when I got it, it had 320,000 miles, and I built it into the pink Jeep. Well, 10 years of rev limiter flipped over, and we took it apart because the crankshaft broke off. That's a story for another day. But it's still on the high side of like the specs. So if you was to machine a crankshaft to specs, it's on like the high side. So it virtually has no wear. Bearings looked about like that. So pretty crazy. I know miles sounds like a number, but I think it's just what's a number? Crap, hold on. A reference point of maintenance is what I would say it's there for. So let's get this oil pump took apart and look at absolutely nothing that I know what I'm talking about. All right, I got the oil pump apart, and like I said, I mean, there's wear like you'd expect, nothing crazy. I got the book out, thought it had something in there, but it don't. But like I said, everything looks as it should. I don't think this is the problem anyway, but you can see, I mean, there's wear. The governor, it's good. So I will keep on going with this build, not a build. What am I even trying to say? Project. And I just remembered I can crank it on the lift. I know we're not going to see our low oil pressure, but we can at least see if the pressure changed at all. So let me get the oil pan on and shoot. That's about it. Hold up. The videos are like days apart, so I get confused. I got stuff going on. Sorry. But oil pump. Grab out the oil pump. Come on a new screen. I'm going to get it put on there. All I do is take a pair of vice grips right there. I know it's probably not the proper way, but it's the best tool I found for the job. Put it in the vise, and you can hit the vice grips like a chisel. I'm gonna put a little bit of thread locker on there, make sure it seals off properly, get that installed, and then this stuff, anything really, gear oil, it don't matter, honestly, probably just oil, but put off in these holes and it'll be free. And then, well, hold on, I'll just do it right now. Something squirting off in there, don't matter what it is. Oh, that was the wrong hole. Well, I can't say that, can I? Maybe that's the right one. Yeah, as soon as you do that, you can feel tension. It's actually pumping it out of that one. And that way, that assures a instant startup oil pressure. All right, I'm glad y'all was here to see this. I was having trouble getting the oil pan to go up on there. And I knew this was bent from the Jeep just being rowdy, whatever you want to call it. So I pried it down and still it wouldn't go. So I took it back apart to figure out what was going on. And this is weird because I've done it before, but see that indention right there? And I could tell it was indentioned right there. So I went and got micrometers, measured from give or take there to there. And it went from, the original was like 82 millimeters and that one is 90 millimeters. So it's like, huh. So I didn't know that was actually bigger. I just thought it was something different in the way that's designed. But probably gonna take this back off and grind just a fuzz off that right there, round it off. And then probably sit this on like a block of wood and get something sharp, hit it in there. So should be good. I know one thing, this is one of these cheaper kits. It's not as thick as like a Felpro. So that may be something too to watch out for. But so yeah, glad y'all was here to see that. Hopefully you catch that one on before I make a bad decision. I always talk technical and then I just beat the heck out of it with a hammer. I had a chisel, but I wound up just hitting the crap out of it. And then right here, like I said, I just rounded it off there. I'll add some Permatex right there, but should have it covered right there. All right, got everything bolted back together. That clearance out worked out perfectly. So now we are ready to lower it down and put oil in it. I'll show you putting oil in it and we'll see what it does. Okay, I can't drive it. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's not really drivable right now, but it will happen. All right, got it on the ground, and right here, that's still the oil that I poured out of it, and right over here is a full gallon, and half of that, like I said, I've got the filter, well, laying right there. So we'll get this oil poured in there. All right, well, I got the oil poured in. There's the oil, and I've got it now where I can turn the key on. And now I'm gonna crank it out here where we can watch at the exact same time it fire up. Got me a relay. Y'all can see, kinda. It was ready, wasn't it? Hovering around 60. I hit the start again. So hovering around 60, which is an improvement. Our dang GoPro battery keeps dying, or died on me, lost that. But been idling, yeah, that thermostat's opened up. Still hovering on 60, but still don't agree with the factory gauge. That one's dead on 60. This one is right about 45. So, like I said, I know I gotta drive it to get accurate results, so gotta get all this stuff put under there, shot some more stuff, and as soon as I do that, we'll go drive it. All right, just got everything put back together, all the suspension. Well, 3 new tires. But I'm gonna show you a true cold start. I mean, nothing's been crunked. I'm gonna lay this down and we'll fire it up. That's right at, that's 70. So it'll start trickling down. So that's good for cold, but if it's ready, if it'll, let me go drive it. All right, if you can see, it's a little crack there. My steering wheel's crooked, but you can tell the high volume's trying to force more oil through there, so it's holding back. But when it gets stopped is what I'm curious about, what it goes down to. I know most people probably won't believe me, but I'm telling you I don't lie. Just got back from town, and I know these gauges do lie, but it's showing above 40. I'm gonna pop the hood and see what the truthful gauge out here shows. Wow, I'm kind of in shock. If I had a water gauge, it would be hovering right at 50. I do say it's not as hot as when I started this project. Probably, I'd say about 75, 80. And when I started, it was, you know, bumping 100, but I'm content with that. But being said, that definitely helped that Jeep. But I guarantee you, as much as I fool with these things, there is some I've seen that is not going to fix it. So as soon as I get my hands on one, we'll figure out what's really causing low oil pressure. Appreciate it.